this is the month of May, and this is the month of Swami Kriyananda's birthday, which is May 19th. And it's particularly special for us because usually we are away in the month of May. And if you're not sure, just, take one foot outside for more than a half second, and then you'll feel why we would be gone. Why, in fact, most people travel during this time of year if they can, and why the children's holidays are during this time from school, because we don't want baked boys and girls in the school, Tandoori children, and so we take them out of the school for this season. So this is the second May in history that we have been here, so it is nice that way to be able to celebrate such a significant holiday for all of us on this path, Swami Kriyananda's birthday. Swami Kriyananda, if you're not familiar with him, is pictured right there. So we decided to dedicate this month, as you might have read in the newsletter, to Swamiji, dedicate the satsangs to Swamiji, his life, and so on. We've done this before, and in fact, if you're interested in really going deeply into this whole thing, we can send you the videos of when we did this whole thing in a more historical point of view. I'm not going to do it, well, I guess today's a little bit of history, but today I'm going to try to give you an overview, but only touch on certain things because it's just impossible without giving a lecture that is 87 years long, which was Swamiji's age at the time he left the body. That's the only way to really cover it all. And that's probably not even enough. So this is a nice opportunity to connect to Master in the form that Master has come to so many of us, which is through the life and the work of Swami Kriyananda. If you didn't know, this very center only came into existence because Swami Kriyananda came to Chennai and then said after his lecture, which was attended by thousands, we must have a center here. And this furthermore was the last center that he established in his lifetime. More centers have come since then, but this was the last that Swamiji founded. And so it's sweet for us that in Chennai that we have that particular personal connection to Swamiji, even if we didn't meet him in the body, and some of us did, but even if we didn't, still to know that, this carpet is here, these chairs are here, and we are in them because of Swamiji. Because if he hadn't said there must be a center here, there would not have been a center for probably some time. Centers are normally born first by some visits by acharyas that give public talks and workshops and classes, and if there's some interest, then maybe a group gets together and meets in between acharya visits, and this may go on for, many months, maybe close to a year. Then if there's a lot of energy forming, maybe the devotees will get together and rent a flat or something to meet in, to meditate in, and then in time maybe an acharya will come and even live here. For Chennai, it was about 15 seconds. As long as it was for Swamiji to say, there must be a center in Chennai, I mean it, or whatever else he said, and here we are. So it was really quite a miracle. And we sort of slid in to, it's a baseball analogy, but we slid into home plate just at the ninth inning at the bottom, In cricket, there is no ninth inning. It's over when it's over. So in the 196th over, I don't know how to put it, before the wicket, never mind, I'm revealing my ignorance. So, what I wanted to do was just give a little bit of a touch of different aspects of Swamiji's life. I didn't want to tell the whole story. It's familiar to so many of you if you've read The New Path. And of course, if you've seen the movie Finding Happiness, you've seen Swamiji in the Ananda community. Several people from here are traveling to Ananda village in end of June for the first 2 weeks of July, and then we will have people coming back who will be able to say, I have seen it. And of course we've had a few members go there already, but this will add to that number. And also, if you've seen the movie The Answer, that tells of Swamiji's life with Yoganandaji, and from having met him in 1948 and then being with Yoganandaji till the end of Yoganandaji's life and then beyond. And so keeping in mind that many of you have seen these films, I wanted to present sort of other things with that context. But if you haven't seen the films, don't worry. This will still give you a taste of it all. Okay, so I think as most of you know, Swami Kriyananda read Autobiography of a Yogi, this book, in September of 1948. And after reading that book, he took the next bus from New York City to California, which is 4 days and 4 nights. So what is that? That's like taking a bus to Delhi or something like that? Maybe even beyond, I don't know. Well, it depends, because you'd have to also be taking U.S. roads, which are a little bit different. So anyway, the point is long journey across the entire country to go to meet Yoganandaji. And why don't we turn, Rajesh, could you turn these lights off? And then this one too, which I think is yes, exactly. I wasn't going to guess that one, so good. Let's leave some lights on just for the sake of, because we don't have coffee. I know with the weather it's tempting to just sleep until June. Okay, so I wanted to, rather than tell you a bunch of stories and just show you pictures only, I wanted, whenever possible, to show you videos. In fact, I'm going to need the speakers there. Thank you. You just put it, Kira. Okay, I think we are ready now. So we have some videos of the different segments of Swamiji's life. And so in some cases, I chose the video, even if it's not a particularly, all videos are significant, but even if it's not a significant moment, like I would love to show you the video of Swamiji meeting Yogananda, but there is no video. And so, but we have other little videos of other moments to try to give you more of an experience. The whole point of this month is getting to know Swami Kriyananda better. That's it. Because of how it can help you. How could it help you? Well, one is, as I said, all of these teachings have come to us from Master through Swamiji. So if you're practicing Hong Sa, if you're practicing energization, you learned it from someone who learned it from someone who learned it from someone who learned it from Swamiji who learned it from Master. It always ends up Swamiji and Master. The other side of it is that as if you're deeper on this path and deeply interested and have been taking discipleship, understanding Swamiji's life as an example of a great disciple of Yoganandaji, his attitudes of discipleship. We really couldn't give this class during Swamiji's lifetime because Swamiji would never let us. As he said, the first line of the new path, speaking of himself, sometimes an individual, though unremarkable in himself, becomes remarkable because of his connection with a great soul. I'm not saying it exactly correctly, but essentially because of him being able to tell us, I was with Yoganandaji, this is how it was, this is how he taught, this is how you too can experience what it would have been like to be with him. Swamiji was always interested in bringing people closer to Yoganandaji because that is what Master had helped him so much. He wanted to share that treasure with all. And so in the same way as I can't help it, but I wasn't with Yoganandaji, but I was with Swamiji, Dharmini and I of course were. And so also that was the most meaningful thing in our life and continues to be. It's not over just because he left the body. He's still very much writing emails and you can get them, it's just not on your computer. And so it takes that trying to draw closer that way so you can have that benefit too. If we had as many videos and lectures of Master, we would be watching those. In fact, there are probably nearly as many in existence. So pray one day for the archive vault to be opened and these things to be let out. So in any case, this is covering the period, this is the years right before Swamiji read that book. This is how he looked. Luckily, his father took many home videos. And they held up quite well over the years. That was the house he was in before he came to Master. And then that's Swamiji's mother in the middle, Swamiji, and then his brother, Bob. And this is close to 1948, maybe even August 1948, literally just before he read the book. Okay, so, got to get these in order. I do have a few photos. So I also wanted to pick out some photos that are not as commonly seen. And so this is from a magazine, and unfortunately the way the photo is cropped, you can't quite see it well, but Master is sitting behind the podium. You can see the top of his head just beyond the podium. You can see his robes there. And so he had the monks demonstrate the yoga asanas, and that's Swamiji in the front. You can always see Swamiji because of the beard. He was the only one who had a beard at Master's requests, and he was always the one demonstrating the asanas or leading the asanas in the demonstrations that he was present for. I think this was the opening of the lake shrine. In fact, I'm almost certain it was, because that looks like that was the lieutenant governor. And anyway, so, okay. Let's see. This is another photo of Swamiji at Mount Washington after coming there and being with Master. Let's see if this will work. Nope. Luckily, Swamiji's father visited Mount Washington and took this short video of Swamiji there. So Swamiji was there with Master. Master is not in the video, but Master was somewhere there on this day. This is the lake shrine. Both of these places will be going on the pilgrimage to America. That was Swamiji's sleeve right there. So Swamiji was about 24 at that time, 25. Another photo, this is of the monks. This is Swamiji right here, meditating. This is the energization exercises, right, which for those of you familiar with them, and this is Swamiji right here, standing in the back of a pickup truck, demonstrating the exercises. It looks like Reverend Bernard was teaching them, and Swamiji was showing everybody how to do them. It's funny on a view of, this was in a big parking lot in an auto mechanic's place, and is it there that it says it? No. Yeah, I think it is there. It says, brakes adjusted, 95 cents. So, yeah, that's like 95 paise to have your brakes adjusted. So, a different time. This is a zoom in of Swamiji there on the pickup truck. Oops. So this was Master's birthday, 1952, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 1952. And this was at the Hollywood Church where Swamiji was the main minister. And they were building a little building to basically hold books. And Miramata, I think that's Miramata, is holding the model of the building in her hand. And Swamiji is doing the groundbreaking. This is near the end of Master's life. This is Christmas, the last Christmas Master celebrated. And this is Dr. Lewis, Master's first disciple in America, his wife, Mrs. Lewis. This is Reverend Bernard again. But this is Rajarshi Janakananda, Master's most advanced disciple, Master said. And it's particularly special. There's too many things happening in May for us to squeeze it all in. We actually need about 6 weeks this month, if we could arrange it. But if it meant 2 extra weeks of heat, we would skip it. But today is Rajarshi's birthday, May 5th. And so we can also tune into his blessings and his joy. He and Swamiji also were very close inwardly. And in fact, Master had said to Swamiji, you have a great work to do, many times, but always in private. And later, after Master's passing, Rajarshi was in charge of the work, and when Swamiji went up to him for a blessing, Rajarshi said, Master has a great work to do through you. And he said, and he will give you the strength to do it. Oh, I thought there was one more. Oh yeah, of course. These are a little out of order. This is Master's Mahasamadhi. That's when this photo was taken here, the last smile. And this was Swamiji at that banquet during Master's speech. There was a famous actor, student of Master's named Dick Hames, who Master invited to the banquet and asked Swamiji to be there with him. Swamiji had taught him Kriya and the other techniques. This is Master's last birthday celebration with Master. And again, there's Dr. Lewis, and this is Swamiji with his back to us. Okay, this is from a newspaper article that unfortunately we don't have a better picture. This is when the ambassador was visiting Master right before Master left the body. This is Swamiji standing right here. And of course this is another photo from that same meeting, just of Swamiji presenting a gift of singaryas, or what are they called? Samosas, thank you, yeah. This photo, of course, is right there. Okay, this is after Master's passing, I believe, and this was a greeting just at a place for some kind of occasion. Again, you have Rajarshi here, Dr. Lewis, his wife, and there's Swamiji there. Whoa! That's not... Okay, good. Better. Did not expect that. Okay. Now, we have a few color photographs too from... This is now after Master's passing, which was in 1952. This is 1953, where Swamiji continued to be the main minister at that church of Master's. This is at the Lake Shrine. This is with Dr. Lewis. The photo is taking very close to the car, and they're standing beyond the car. I didn't notice it at first, but someone said, "How big is that American car?" It's not that big. So, Dr. Lewis was the vice president of SRF YSS, and then when he left the body, then Swamiji became the vice president. This is at the Lake Shrine, a gathering of disciples from all over, some big occasion. Here's Swamiji here. Swamiji was in charge of all of the centers, all the of Master centers all over the world. And so I think this might have been a gathering in connection with that. This is, for some of you might have heard of, most of you, Oliver Black, Master's second most advanced disciple after Rajarshi. And this was Swamiji meeting him before Swamiji got in the plane. Those were the planes back then, because he was visiting different centers around the world. And I think he was just flying to Mexico or something like that. That was 1955. This was Swamiji meeting. This is the leader of the Mexico Center. This is Dayamata, the president of SRF at that time. And again, just to give you a sense of it, this Swamiji would be giving, was the main speaker for SRF, going out in public and giving lectures, Christ Consciousness Through Yoga at 6 p.m., Reincarnation, Truth or Myth. And this was in Canada, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think so. Anyway, Reverend Brother Kriyananda. Sorry? It says Vancouver. Excellent, yep. Okay. This was Swamiji now in Europe, traveling to Italy, continuing on the spread of Master's work. And then finally, India. This is actually taken from a color slide, otherwise it just seemed impossible how we could have a photo that looks like this, and it actually looks much better even than this. But it's because it's taken from a color slide, so like almost like a negative, it's a positive. Anyway, so Swamiji, it is a positive, that's what they call it, a photo positive, they do, but anyway. Swamiji secluding in Kashmir, some of you know about that chapter in his life. He also traveled to Australia and did the first Kriya initiation ever in Australia. In fact, he said just the fact that he was an American was drawing people to come, because they hadn't seen an American. No one really came down to Australia in those days. And then, this is Swamiji in, I think, Calcutta. I'm not sure, it could be in Delhi, in 1962, I think this is. These photos were taken from negatives. We found them in an envelope, just these pieces of glass, because I don't know if you know, way back in those days, but yeah, I guess you do know, that negatives were on glass. And so anyway, we scanned it into the computer and then reversed it and then got these photos. And then this Swamiji had created a plan for a temple in Delhi. That's the plan right there. And that's Rani Ban, Swamiji's friend, with Nehru. Nehru then gave his approval for that plan. It was, unfortunately, this plan that was misunderstood by Swamiji's sister disciples in SRF, and due to miscommunication and whatever other reasons, they said they didn't want the temple, and they called Swamiji back from India, and then they ejected him from SRF. And so after a few years of getting back on his feet and trying to decide how he could continue to serve Master on his own, that led to the founding of Ananda. And the main focus of Ananda, well, I'll tell you about that in a moment. But this, we have a short video clip of Swamiji in 1966. So this is in the sort of rare unknown window after SRF and before Ananda. This is Swamiji visiting his mother, and that's his younger brother, Dick. Swamiji and his mother were very close. At this point, Swamiji was giving lectures, he had a radio program and so on. But then really Ananda started in 1968, 67, 68, 69, depending on how you count. Even at the 20th anniversary, they had it in 1988 and said, or 87, or 89. Anyway, Swamiji said, we have to say it's July 4th, 1969, because it's the only month where we have an actual date. I mean, the only year where we have an actual date. When in 1968 there wasn't a specific day that anyone could recall that was the beginning. So that's why July 4th, 1969, that was the date of signing the papers to incorporate the Ananda farm, the community, and that's when it really began. That's also the day that Deviji arrived at Ananda, her first day. So that's a good day too, to count as the beginning. So we have this video which I wanted to show you just because then you can hear from Swamiji. This is now jumping ahead to 1977. But again, it's not necessarily the video I would have picked in terms of the topic, which is interesting enough, but it's because it's the only video that exists from this time with audio.
Paramahansa Yogananda, founder of the Self-Realization Fellowship in Los Angeles in 1925, was the first great master of India to live and teach in the West. During the 30 years he spent in Southern California, he dedicated himself to explaining and expanding on the teachings of the Old and New Testament. In his inspiring book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, he tells of his spiritual training in India and of his master's close connection with the teachings of Jesus. Yogananda's direct disciple, Swami Kriyananda, an American and founder of the Ananda Cooperative Village and Meditation Retreat in Northern California, recalls what Yogananda had to say about the lost years of Jesus.
Yes, Yogananda often talked about the missing years of Jesus and the fact that he spent them in India, or a large part of them. He told us once that the 3 wise men had come to the manger from India and that Jesus' visit to India was to return their visit. In his book, Man's Eternal Quest, which is a book of his sermons that was published by Self-Realization Fellowship, he says, God made Jesus Christ an Oriental in order to bring East and West together. Christ came to awaken the divine consciousness of brotherhood in the East and West. It is true that Christ lived in India during most of the 18 unaccounted for years of his life, studying with India's great masters. That doesn't take away from his divinity and uniqueness. It shows the unity and brotherhood of all great saints and avatars. Yoganandaji was talking not from a level of scholarship, but of intuition. And when he saw the life of Jesus in India, it was from that level that he was talking, although he also mentioned that there were records in India, such as Notovich's, but he had seen it himself and spoke with certainty. In fact, one gets the impression that other things were taken out of the Bible too. You know, the early Christians used to believe in reincarnation. The Jews believe in it. The Orthodox Jews still believe in it. And Origen, one of the greatest theologians, second to St. Augustine even, so great was he, said that he got the teaching of reincarnation from apostolic times. This teaching wasn't taken out of the Christian doctrine until 553 at the Second Council of Constantinople, 553 AD. They found recently that Pope Vigilius, who was present in Constantinople, boycotted that council, didn't go to it. I think there was only one prelate from Rome. They anathematized Origen for political reasons, and at the same time took out all his teachings, including that of reincarnation. But we do find little glimpses and hints in the Bible about reincarnation. About Elijah, for example, coming before the Messiah, Jesus saying that John the Baptist was Elias or Elijah. Many other passages are indicative of this teaching being accepted. For example, when Jesus said, "Whom do men say that I am?" the disciples say, some say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. Jesus didn't correct them for saying that people were saying that he was an incarnation, which is obviously what was meant, of one of the ancient prophets. So we get the impression that the Bible was tampered with for the usual reasons, which is institutional religion. When they try to institutionalize religion, they also bring out the more convenient things that will support their church dogmas. And this is what I think they must have done, and what Yogananda indicated that they did do with the Bible, that there were many high and deep teachings there that are not available except through the lives of great saints who lived those teachings and realized them in their own lives.
Just to give you an idea of Ananda village at that time, this is now Ananda village having started, say, in 67. This is 10 years into the span of the village. This is the 50th anniversary. This was the 10th anniversary. That's the mailbox. That, for those of you who know Nayaswami Jaya, that's him on the tractor. There he is again. He's this one, not this one. That's Hanel Cassidy, who was the head gardener and the teacher of all the other gardeners. That's Seva, for those of you who know of Seva. This was at the retreat. This is Swamiji in the car with a few others. Devi, I think, is there, and a woman named Lakshmi. I think her name is Gyan Devi, this baby. I think she was one of the first babies at Ananda, I'm not sure. That's Swamiji again. Kalyani was his secretary. And many people had come at that time. That isn't Keshava, I don't think, actually. There was some debate, but maybe it is. I think when we asked him, he said it wasn't. There was a shop to repair their cars and any other cars in the area. And then this is again around that same time. This was Swamiji returning after a round-the-world pilgrimage around the world trip. And he had been gone probably longer than ever before. I forget if it was 5 months or something. So he had just returned back. This was the registration area where guests came to sign in and then stay. That's where Haridas lived, in this little teepee there. Swamiji with Purushottama, who you may remember from Finding Happiness. Looking a little different. I think, as some of you know, we have those glasses of Swamiji's here which is very sweet. That was Shankari. This is Prahlad. That's Seva saying, "Don't film me." That's Jyotishji. They're all at Swamiji's house right there. That's Asha. And that's Keshava. No, unmistakably Keshavaji. Okay. All right. So another video, we won't watch the whole thing by any means, but just to see Swamiji looking as he was in 1979, when so many of the people you know now who are now themselves older than Swamiji was when they came to Ananda, but this is how he was when they came.
Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful.
Heavenly Father, recharge my body with thy cosmic energy, my mind with thy concentration, my soul with thy ever-new joy. O eternal youth of body and mind, abide in me forever and forever. Om. Amen. Double breathing.
This was in Swamiji's home in, please come in, Swamiji's home at Ananda. Okay, so we'll just have a few actual excerpts of talks by Swamiji now, and this was in 2006 after, so jumping from 1979 to 2006, there's a lot perhaps left out, but this is Swamiji speaking about Ananda, and this was on one of his early visits back to America, having been in India. And India started in 2003, Ananda, India.
Because God wants this work to go forward. You know, Master, again and again, in fact, I suspect, and I can't go through them numerically and make sure, but it was so often as to make me think it was every time he spoke in public. He spoke about the need for communities like this one, where people live together for God, work together for God, and he would have people affirm this concept, this ideal. And in Beverly Hills in 1949, there was a garden party. Well, you know what garden parties are like, especially in a wealthy town like Beverly Hills. This was a very wealthy family, and you know what they would expect when he was asked to get up and speak. Thank you, the gracious host. And thank you for everybody, and thank you for coming, and it's been a wonderful afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed it, and so on. Oh. I was slightly almost embarrassed the way he spoke. It was so completely out of tune with the gathering. He was shouting with such fervor. He gave a talk so powerful, more powerful than any other lecture I have ever heard. And he tried to inspire people to start communities. And he said, thousands of youths must go north, south, east, west, everywhere to spread this ideal of simple living, plain living, God-high thinking. I was slightly embarrassed because they never did invite him back. Didn't surprise me at all. But he said afterwards, God spoke through me, and I knew that was the case. And God is not a respecter of time or circumstance. And in all that crowd, there were at least 800 people there. Only I started a community. And when I heard that talk, I vowed that I would do my best to make this ideal a reality. I remember in 1958, I said to Dayamata, when are we going to start communities? Her answer was, frankly, I'm not interested. Well, okay, that wasn't their mission, but I knew it was mine. And I am so grateful that God has made this possible. Don't think I did it. I just was the willing slave. I did my best, yes, we've all done our best, but it's such an amazing thing. What a struggle it has been. It was not easy. We didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. My father had money, but he never gave me any money. Not for this. But somehow it came. I slightly scolded Divine Mother. I said, you know I don't want money. You don't know. I don't even like it. Why are you making me work so hard to earn money just so I can build these buildings? And yet I found at the end of it, when we passed that test, and we had everything we needed, and the community got off to a good start, and then other people came in, and finally it became a community effort, not just my effort to get it started. I found that what my gain was not the money to do these things, it was inner strength. When you do what God wants you to do, and you can feel it in your heart to some extent, I knew I had to do it. And no matter how many difficulties and so many people were counseling me, it's too hard, that means God doesn't want it. I said if he didn't want it, he would make it impossible. But he's making it barely possible, so I have to keep trying. And the thing is that it did happen. And I think this is a miracle. And to have so many people coming from so many places, we have thousands of friends all over the world. It's a great fulfillment for me. It's a wonderful thing to see that so many people have taken his message and understood how they can apply it and the importance of applying it in their own lives. So, the poor you have always with you, but me you have not always. Me, after all, Christ lived 2,000 years ago. Yogananda passed away in 1952. And whatever you get from me, I'm going into India. It's in your hearts that you've got to look. That inspiration of God's presence in your hearts. When you get it, and it doesn't come always, but when you do, hang on to it. It's the most priceless treasure you can have. Hang on to any feeling of love, any feeling of joy, any feeling of the divine. Go off to yourself. Go off in the woods. Don't think, as I have done in the beginning, I don't do it now, but I used to do it. I used to think, oh, it's so natural that I don't need to hang on to it. It'll always be with me, but it won't be always with you. Until you make yourself his friend, he will then become your friend. When you live for him, he will show that he's always lived for you. But you know, you've been turning your back on him for so many incarnations. Why should he come running just because you say, please come to me? He wants to be sure. But when you've passed your tests, when you've shown that in all troubles and trials, under all difficulties, you still love him. Can you hear me? Then he will come. And two beautiful passages in the Gita. One is in the 2nd chapter where Krishna speaks to Arjuna as if smiling. It takes a lot of sincerity to win that smile outwardly. But as I said in my song, Love is a Magician, I knew all the time. No, how was it? I knew all the while. Oh, come on, somebody tell me. I know it perfectly well. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow. I can't sing that song. I can't sing it, it moves me too deeply. But I knew all the while that your smile was with me. And that is what also the Gita says. And when his smile is there, that shows that you've advanced. When you're aware of that smile, he's always smiling. And I would look into my Guru's eyes, and when he was scolding even, I would see there was no scolding in his eyes. There was only love and support and hope that I would understand and learn. So that is one thing. And another beautiful thing in the Gita is where Krishna speaks of himself, or Arjuna speaks of him as friend. Friendship with God is in some ways the most beautiful. Even as the Divine Mother, there's a certain obligation in that kind of love. This is my child, I have to help him. But a friend doesn't have to help you. He helps you because he wants you, because he's one with you. So I would suggest that even if you think of God as Lord, Almighty, God knows what else, or as Father, or as Mother, think of him also as friend. He's on your side. He wants you to win. And all he's doing is waiting for you who have turned your back on him for millions of years to finally turn back and say, Lord, I am thine. Thou art mine. Joy to you.
I wanted to show you a little glimpse of Swamiji in India as well. This was in the Pune community. These are just different shots of different moments, including when Swamiji was filming his series of shows on the Bhagavad Gita.
I think back to here with this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Pat also has. Those Pat will do different. pad. Last one लगा दो. नहीं they're all cameras. या तो की करता है.
All of them you get enough, so you don't need to ever bring cameras and pad.
There you want to chop something else and I can do the garlic.
I think I'm done with this tiny. Hold your hand. The big garlic. Just a couple little baby things left I can hand them to somebody. And I'm going to go wash my hands for a while.
5-minute warning to choir. Okay.
Okay, somebody might be looking for a knife. That's a valuable creature there.
Is there anybody who wants tea?
Almost there. You come along. But for this sleeping pit, cannot come out.
Okay. Sri Dharmaraj.
Difficult. Yeah.
Which is the second.
I said that it is very good.
We're starting again, but I need it. I'm here under these lights. I'm really hot.
I turn it on every time.
Huh?
I turn it on every time between shows.
You turn it on? Well, I'm still hot. Oh well.
Maybe Swamiji, a cotton kurta would help you better than that polysilk.
This is all right, I hope.
That
Well, you're right. I've
you
got
know,
to
it
buy
doesn't
one.
allow your body to breathe.
I have to buy one before I can do it, and maybe I can find one. Maybe you'd like to buy me one.
Yeah, sure.
Medium size.
All right.
Namaskar. Take feeling no attraction to the sensory world, either subtle or gross. The yogi lives in the ever-new joy of his own being. United to spirit, he attains the perfection of absolute bliss. Many people think that if you're not going to be enjoying or having ups and downs in your feelings, if you eliminate if you become even-minded all the time, you have to eliminate feeling. This is not the case. You can't eliminate feeling. Feeling is citta. Citta is the essence of consciousness. The intellect can find out many answers, but only the feeling. There are two things science will never be able to replicate, never be able to produce in their own way. Feeling and ego consciousness. He finds peace who knows me as the enjoyer of all offerings or yajna and austerities, as the infinite Lord of creation and as the dearest friend of all. Joy to you. Well, that's it. Thank you all. Now, do you want to ask anything, or do you want to rush off to yours? I did want to speak to you for a moment. Not you, but you. Yeah, no, that, you're right. And, any questions? Any questions?
Swamiji,
Okay.
could you talk more about when you were saying don't engage with evil?
What's that?
You were talking a day or so ago about not engaging with evil and not having it disturb your peace of mind.
Evil. What is evil and what is good? Evil is that which is farther away from your source. Good is that which is close to your source. To get involved in egos, to get involved in restlessness and confusion and all those things. A thing is evil because it makes you confused. So we need to get away from evil. And it's not enough to say, well, it's all in the mind, because that's exactly where it is. That's exactly where you've got to fight it. And so don't give evil its chance. It has its own magnetism. And if you mix with evil people, if you mix with worldly people, or if you entertain evil thoughts, you'll gradually be drawn in those directions. So that's what I mean. We have to avoid that and keep our minds affirming the good. Okay? Well, everybody, thank you for coming. Namaste.
And this is one of the last talks that Swamiji gave, almost the last talk he gave in America, and it's the end of that talk followed by a little gathering. This was in Seattle.
Now, I would like to sing a song for you, if you can stand it.
I should mention, if you haven't heard Swamiji sing, he wrote hundreds of songs. He sang them throughout his whole life and so on. And then this was at the end of his life.
Bring it closer so I can... Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, put it here. Yeah. Okay. Love is all I know. Sun rays on this. I can't do it for it. I feel so much blessed sometimes. Anyway, I'll try again. Love is all I know. Sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's afire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Love is all I know. Sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's afire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away. Imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love. All the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away.
Just a moment. We're done here. And this is a little gift. Just a little gift of gratitude from all your friends here, Swamiji, with this card, and happy anniversary. From hundreds.
You know, I have my 64th anniversary this Wednesday, I think.
Yes, on the 12th.
Yeah. So pray for me that day. Okay.
Okay. Here, you take the flowers.
Here we go. Let him out.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. Boom. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's a beautiful tie. 5,000 years ago it was preordained. You know, I don't think the hip problem is just due to Tina because that hip operation. Okay, so nice to see you.
Swami Kriyananda and everyone here in Ananda, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. That was fine.
See you all Saturday at the event, 5 to 7 p.m. on Saturday. Blessings to all. Enjoy the rest of the food if you'd like to any longer. You're welcome.
And finally, I just wanted to show this short clip because I don't want us to just feel that this was all in the past. This was right after Swamiji arrived in India. Actually, it was about a year, just over a year that he had been in India without coming back to America at all. And so he filmed this from India to send as a greeting to people who were missing him in America. And of course, it has a new connection for all of us here too, even now.
Hello everybody. I'm talking to you from India. And it's such a wonderful thing to be in the land where Master lived. He was really a bridge between the East and the West. That was his mission. And his life here is not nearly so well known as it ought to be. Back when I lived in India, 45 years ago, most people had never heard of him. But if you can believe it, his own brother was better known. He was a famous physical culturist. People didn't know about Master. But now the autobiography is very popular. Many people have read it. But even then, they still get the impression from his book, because he was so humble, that he was just a sweet young boy who had the wonderful good fortune to meet these great saints. They don't know that he was the greatest of them all. He was an avatar and a very great power in the world. Well, anyway, my job here in India is to help to make not just him, but his mission known. And we have been here now since November of about a year and 3 months ago. We've accomplished so much in this little bit of time. I've been writing a course, as most of you know, called Material Success Through Yoga Principles. I've also got a program every day of the year on 2 stations on television. When I lived here before, they didn't even have television. It's amazing how much you can do. At my age, I couldn't go skating around the country, lecturing everywhere. But even in those days, if I'd done it, it wouldn't have done the same thing. Now I can reach a potential of maybe 200 million people. That's quite a few people. I don't know how many people are watching it now. The word is spreading. And every time I go out virtually, people tell me, oh, I see you every day on television. And they really are enjoying it. So it's a wonderful thing. But to be able to speak to you from this distance is another one of the great benefits of the day in which we live. Just think how long it would have taken to get to America from India. You'd have to go by ship. It would probably take 2 months to be able to communicate instantly like this and to reach you. One thing I can gloat over you about is that here it's relatively warm. It's getting hot. And there you probably got snow on the ground. Well, I have to say there's a negative side to that beyond that point. I really miss all of you. I wish I could be there and be in many bodies at once. I hope possibly to come to America for my 80th birthday, and that's May of 2006. I'd like to go there if my body will allow me to. I'd like to stop back on the way back through Italy and Europe. But the life that Master lived, people talk about what it was like then. I lived then, I know what it was like. But to me, his death was not death. It was Mahasamadhi, and Mahasamadhi banishes time. He's alive today. He's with us right now. And if my life means anything to me or to anyone else, its benefit is that it may help to make him more real. And I hope those of you who represent his teachings will also try to make him alive to other people. Talk about him. Talk about the love and the joy and the wonderful compassion that he showed. These are the qualities that can change the world. We need to understand that what will change the world is consciousness. Systems won't do it. Communism, we pretty well have seen, doesn't work, but democracy doesn't work either. No system's going to do it. People have to have the right consciousness. When they do, the worst system can be made useful and helpful. If they don't have the right consciousness, the best system can be corrupted. So what we want is to help people to the one thing that's really missing: love God, and love God in one another. In that love and in the joy that comes from loving him, this world can be changed and will be changed. And if there has to be much trouble before that, well, don't let it get you down. Understand it's a very brief time. When I had to have my tooth worked on, they killed the nerve. They put a post in. I didn't take any anesthesia. I just thought, well, 1 hour of pain. I lived a long life. What's 1 hour? So I just took it quietly and didn't say anything. Whatever comes in your life, just think it's a short time. You have lived in eternity. Live now also in eternity. God bless you.